Jack stepped off the shuttle onto the alien colony of Varion 5, feeling the familiar mix of excitement and unease that always accompanied his first steps on a new world. The planet was a riot of colors, with towering crystalline spires glinting under a pale green sun, and creatures moving in ways his human mind could barely comprehend. Aliens of all shapes and sizes bustled through the streets of the capital city, their movements precise, graceful, and undeniably intimidating. As a human, Jack had learned quickly that being underestimated had its advantages. Most alien societies viewed humans as weak, slow, or incapable of true strategic thought, but that assumption had served him well more than once. Today, however, he had a feeling things would be different. The festival in the city square was like nothing he had ever seen. Alien banners waved in the wind, displaying symbols that glowed faintly with energy. Music vibrated through the ground itself, and the crowd was dense with spectators. He had heard about the duels before. Challenges between elite warriors were public events, celebrated as tests of honor and skill. Losing was humiliating, but refusing a challenge could be worse. Jack's attention was caught by a commotion near the center of the square. A crowd had gathered around a tall figure with shimmering armor. The alien's presence was commanding, and even from a distance Jack could sense the precision in her movements. This was Lyra, a warrior whose reputation had spread across multiple star systems. Stories of her victories were whispered in human settlements as legends, tales of skill and speed that seemed almost supernatural. Jack barely had time to watch before Lyra's piercing gaze met his own. The crowd quieted as she strode toward him, her steps deliberate, her expression unreadable. "Human," she said, her voice carrying a strange, resonant quality that vibrated in the air. "You have caught my attention. I challenge you to a duel." The murmurs of the crowd grew louder. Humans rarely survived duels with elite warriors. Jack felt a flutter of nerves, but quickly buried it. He raised his hands in a gesture of respect. "I am honored by your challenge," he said calmly. "But I should warn you, I am no ordinary human." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "We shall see," she said. Her confidence was evident, but there was a hint of curiosity now, a crack in the armor of certainty. The duel ground was cleared, leaving a circular arena of smooth, iridescent stone. Jack followed Lyra to the center, aware of every eye on them. The aliens had weapons ready, but Lyra's hands were bare. Her species fought with their bodies as much as with blades, and Jack had learned that underestimating that would be a mistake. He glanced at his own forearm, hidden beneath his sleeve, feeling the familiar ridge of the tattoo beneath his skin. It was a mark he had carried for years, inked in secret, a symbol of a human lineage of warriors thought long forgotten. No one alive had ever truly understood the power and history it represented. Not even Jack himself had known the full extent until now. Lyra circled him, eyes sharp, measuring every detail. "I sense confidence," she said. "Do not mistake it for arrogance, human." "This is not a game," Jack nodded. "I understand." His mind raced, recalling the techniques he had practiced, the maneuvers that had kept him alive in countless conflicts. He would need every ounce of skill and instinct today. The first strike came swiftly. Lyra moved like a blur, her limbs cutting through the air with precision. Jack barely dodged, feeling the rush of wind as her claws grazed past him. He countered, relying on speed and careful timing, and managed a light touch against her side, enough to make her take notice. The crowd gasped. Few humans had ever managed that. But the real turning point came when Jack's sleeve slipped during a maneuver, revealing the tattoo on his arm. It was intricate, glowing faintly under the alien sun, a pattern of lines and symbols that told a story of human courage and legacy. Lyra froze instantly, her eyes widening. She stepped back, almost stumbling. Jack felt the sudden shift as well. Recognition stirred something deep in him, memories and instincts tied to his lineage, to stories passed down in whispers about the ancient human battalion that had fought across galaxies. That battalion had been feared, respected, and ultimately lost to time. And now here was Lyra, confronted with the living mark of that legacy. The silence was almost unbearable. The crowd sensed the change in energy, the duel suspended in a strange moment of awe and tension. Lyra's breathing was heavier, slower, and her movements were cautious. For the first time, Jack saw uncertainty in the eyes of the invincible warrior. I did not expect this," she said finally, her voice low, almost a whisper. "I thought humans were..." Fragile. Jack met her gaze steadily. We are not as weak as many believe, he said. And some of us carry the legacy of those who proved it across the stars. Lyra's mind raced. The tattoo confirmed stories she had heard. Rumors that humans once had warriors capable of feats that could challenge entire fleets. She had never believed it fully, dismissing it as myth. And yet here was the evidence staring back at her. She realized that the duel was no longer about skill alone. It was about recognition, history, and honor. Jack felt a strange bond forming, even in that moment of tension. He understood the respect required to face a warrior like Lyra. He also sensed that his actions from here on would set the tone, not just for the duel, but for the perception of humans across this alien society. The crowd leaned in, waiting for the next move. Lyra took a step back, her stance cautious. You carry a mark of the ancients, she said finally. I will not strike without understanding it. Jack nodded. Then let us learn from each other. The duel, once a potential spectacle of defeat and humiliation, had transformed into something more profound. It was no longer a fight of brute force or skill alone. It had become a moment of connection across species, a recognition of the human spirit and legacy. As they stood facing each other, Jack felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. The tattoo was more than ink. It was a symbol of survival, of ingenuity, of humanity's enduring courage. Lyra, despite her initial challenge, was beginning to understand that. And in that brief suspended moment, both of them realized that this encounter would change the course of their lives and perhaps the relationship between humans and this alien society forever. The first part of the story ends with both of them frozen in the arena, the duel halted not by skill or strategy, but by recognition and legacy. The crowd murmurs, whispers spreading through the square like wildfire. Jack's heart beat steadily, knowing that the next steps would determine not just the outcome of this encounter, but the respect humans would earn in the galaxy for generations to come. The silence in the arena stretched, thick and heavy like the calm before a storm. Jack and Lyra stood face to face, both aware that the duel they had begun was no longer a mere contest of skill. The revelation of Jack's tattoo had shifted something deeper, a recognition of human history and legacy that even Lyra, with all her training and victories, could not ignore. Lyra's eyes lingered on the intricate patterns etched into Jack's forearm. Where did you get this mark? She asked cautiously, her voice soft but resonating with authority. It belongs to a line thought extinct, humans who fought across galaxies known only in legend. Jack flexed his arm slightly, feeling the familiar ridges under his skin. I inherited it, he said quietly. I never knew its full story, only that it was passed down in my family. The rest, I am still discovering. He met her gaze steadily. But now, I understand that it carries more than just history. It carries responsibility. The crowd murmured, sensing the tension and the weight of history in that moment. Many had never seen a human stand so calmly against one of their finest warriors, and fewer still had ever glimpsed a mark that carried such deep significance. For Jack, the duel had transformed into something larger, an opportunity to prove the worth and courage of his species. Lyra stepped back, lowering her stance slightly. If what you say is true, then this duel is more than a test of combat. It is a test of character, of understanding, and of honor. Her eyes softened, and she nodded once, decisively. We will continue, but not as adversaries. We fight to learn, not to humiliate. Jack's lips curled into a faint smile. He had hoped for exactly this. Agreed, he said. The tension eased, replaced by a mutual curiosity. A silent agreement that the duel would now serve a greater purpose. They began cautiously, exchanging movements and maneuvers that were part combat, part demonstration. Jack relied on human ingenuity and unpredictability, his style unfamiliar to Lyra's eyes. He used momentum and angles differently, exploiting physics in ways her species rarely considered. Lyra responded with controlled power and grace, her strikes precise and elegant, a testament to centuries of warrior tradition. As they moved, a strange rhythm emerged. The duel became a dialogue, a conversation without words. Each maneuver communicated respect, skill, and intelligence. The crowd watched in awe, realizing that what had begun as a potential spectacle of defeat was now a masterclass in strategy and technique. At one point, Lyra paused mid-strike. eyes widening as she realized Jack had anticipated her move before she executed it. "You understand my style," she said, a note of admiration creeping into her voice. "How?" Jack shrugged slightly, though he didn't release his focus. "Observation and adaptation. Humans have survived against odds far greater than this. We learn fast when it matters." His voice was calm, but the weight behind his words was unmistakable. Lyra's respect grew, tempered with a hint of wariness. "Your people. Perhaps we have underestimated you," she admitted, stepping back to reassess. "Legends aside, I did not expect this level of skill and insight." Jack felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for the human spirit he represented. The duel had become more than a personal challenge, it was a statement. Humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, strategists, and worthy adversaries. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the edge of the arena. A group of rogue alien fighters, drawn by rumors of the human with the legendary tattoo, approached, clearly intent on testing their own skills against Jack and Lyra. The festival's music faltered, replaced by the tense hum of potential conflict. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They seek to challenge both of us," she said. "This is no longer just a duel. We must fight together," Jack nodded. "Then let's show them what we can do." The rogue fighters charged, but Jack and Lyra moved in perfect unison, instinctively coordinating their attacks. Lyra's strength and precision combined with Jack's ingenuity and unpredictability created a synergy that stunned their opponents. Every move was calculated yet fluid, a balance of power and intellect that neither the humans nor aliens had witnessed before. Jack ducked under a sweeping strike and used the momentum to launch himself forward, taking the attacker by surprise. Lyra followed instantly, her movements covering his blind spots. Together they pushed back the challengers, their cooperation seamless, almost intuitive. The crowd erupted in cheers, many of them unable to comprehend the spectacle. Humans and aliens had rarely seen such harmony in combat. A fusion of styles and strengths that transcended species. Jack felt exhilaration and relief. This was exactly the proof he had hoped to provide. Humans were not weak. They were capable of feats that could inspire respect, even awe. After the rogue fighters were repelled, Jack and Lyra stood side by side in the arena, breathing heavily but victorious. Lyra looked at him with a mixture of amazement and respect. "You have shown me something I never thought possible," she said. "The tattoo is not just a symbol. It is proof that your people are exceptional." Jack glanced at his forearm, tracing the lines of the ancient symbol. "It represents more than me," he said softly. "It represents all of humanity. Courage, ingenuity, resilience. We are often underestimated, but we endure, and we adapt." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then perhaps the duel was not meant to determine a winner, but to show that humans can stand among the greatest warriors in the galaxy." The crowd continued to murmur, some of the older warriors in particular, showing signs of admiration and newfound respect. Jack realized that this moment had shifted perceptions, not just of him but of humanity itself. Lyra extended her hand, a gesture of truce and respect. "I underestimated you," she admitted, "and for that I apologize. Perhaps we can train together, learn from one another. There is much we could achieve." Jack took her hand firmly. "I would like that. Humans can learn too, and we can share knowledge. Perhaps we can even build something greater together, something that transcends rivalry and fear." The festival resumed, but the tone had changed. Where once there had been tension and challenge, now there was mutual curiosity and admiration. Jack's tattoo, once a secret legacy, had become a bridge between species, a testament to the human spirit that refused to be ignored. Lyra and Jack walked through the city square afterward, discussing techniques, strategy, and history. The alien warrior shared stories of her victories, while Jack recounted human battles and tactics. Every conversation deepened their respect and understanding of each other's cultures. As night fell, the crystal towers of Varian 5 glowed with soft light, illuminating the paths through the city. Jack and Lyra found themselves on a quiet balcony overlooking the festival, the sounds of celebration distant but vibrant. "You have changed my perspective on humans," Lyra said quietly, her tone thoughtful. "I feared we would face only weakness and unpredictability. Instead, I see strength, cunning, and honor." Jack smiled. "I've always believed that humans could achieve remarkable things. Perhaps now others will see it too." Lyra's eyes flicked to his tattoo, still faintly glowing in the alien moonlight. This mark, it carries power beyond what I first understood. And yet it is not just power, it is responsibility. Do you feel it? Jack nodded. Every day. But responsibility is what gives power meaning. I hope to use it to build understanding, to prove that humans are more than myths or rumors. Lyra smiled faintly. Then perhaps we are beginning something new. Not just a friendship, but a legacy that combines our strengths. Humans and aliens, learning from each other. Jack looked at the glowing city below, thinking of the challenges ahead, the battles yet to come, and the respect they had earned. The duel had ended, but the story was only beginning. The galaxy had seen a human stand among the elite and be recognized not for brute force, but for courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. And somewhere deep within him, Jack felt a surge of pride. The tattoo was more than a mark. It was a symbol of humanity's potential, a testament to the enduring spirit that had survived against impossible odds. Lyra had frozen at its sight, but now, side by side, they faced the galaxy together, ready to show that humans could not only survive but thrive, respected and remembered among the stars. The night stretched on, full of possibilities. Jack and Lyra knew the future would be filled with challenges. But they also knew they would face them together, blending human ingenuity and alien mastery in ways the galaxy had never imagined. As the festival lights shimmered, Jack felt a quiet certainty. The human legacy was alive, and it had just begun to leave its mark.